All right, good morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, April 24th. I'm John Weigell here with Juliet, Bennett, Ryla, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. It's pretty easy to cheat on tests and interviews with AI, but it isn't exactly a good idea in a lot of cases. A new cheating startup, Cluely, is in the middle of that issue right now as the platform promises to help you cheat to win. So why isn't it working? We'll get to that and more, but first let's give you the news in business and tech. First of all, let's start out with Tesla. Tesla shared a pretty lackluster earnings report this week. Net income dropped to $409 million from $1.4 billion last year. But there was one facet of the business that is still thriving. The automaker's energy generation and storage business, which houses Tesla's Megapack and Powerball battery systems, earned $2.73 billion in the first 3 months of this year, which is up 67% from 2024. While those numbers are looking good, the future of Tesla's energy arm remains uncertain amid the Trump administration tariffs as the company sources its battery cells from China. Oopsie. From there, we go to chip maker Intel. Intel is the latest tech giant to announce layoffs. The company's going to let go of 20% of its staff as it tries to cut costs and push back on bankruptcy. That's around 21,000 jobs they're cutting, and shares rose 7% after it was announced. From there, we go to Europe. The European Union fined Apple and Meta with $800 million in fines for violating antitrust rules. The fines are the first under the EU Digital Markets Act, created to keep big tech in check and give both companies 60 days to comply before subsequent fines are charged. On to YouTube. Happy anniversary to them. 20 years ago, yesterday was the fateful day that YouTube launched. The platform is, of course, bigger than ever, and according to analysts at MoffettNathanson, as a standalone business, YouTube would be worth between $475 billion and $550 billion. That is the future of media. And finally, if you're craving a loaded potato skin, I'm sorry to give you some bad news. The bankrupt TGI Fridays restaurant chain has only 85 locations left in the U.S., which is down from 270 at the start of 2024 and 600 at its peak in 2008. It's still alive, though, with the revamped menu targeting Gen Z customers dropping next month. We'll see how that looks. Okay, on to the main story today. We're talking about cheating using AI in this newish app called Cluely. So, Juliet, can you first tell us a bit about the founder of Cluely?
So you may have heard of him before. We are talking about a guy who goes by Roy Lee. Now, he went viral for being suspended from Columbia University after it was revealed that he had built Interview Coder, which is an AI app that if you're trying to get a job at a tech company where you would be doing coding, you are usually given a coding test. This Interview Coder did that portion of the interview for him. So essentially kind of billed as a cheating on the interview. Mm-hmm. Now, Lee claimed that it had worked for him in getting an Amazon internship and getting in at other companies. And either he rejected those offers or they were rescinded upon learning about his usage of the tool.
Mm-hmm. So after getting kicked out of Columbia for doing this, what did he do? What has he got going on right now?
Well, he actually dropped out. So he was suspended and then he dropped out. And then he doubled down on this whole AI cheating situation. And he helped to co-found this new app that he raised $5.3 million in seed funding to do. It's called Cluely. And this is an AI tool that helps you cheat on everything, is what it's billed as. Mm-hmm. Now, the way they're talking about this is mostly marketing, it seems like, because they're talking about like, oh, what even is cheating? Like, wouldn't there have been a time when we thought calculators were cheating or spell check was cheating, Google was cheating, etc. So, they're kind of trying to be, I think, playful here. And when you think about it, yeah, there were a lot of things in school that, at least I recall, you were not allowed to use a calculator for because they wanted you to learn how to do basic arithmetic, which is something that and I think most people can do because I learned how to do it in my brain.
Wow. Good for you. Because I learned how to do it in my brain and that knowledge did not stick with me for whatever reason.
Yeah. And I mean, that's fine. So what's really interesting to me about this whole story is that, it implies that you can cheat on everything, but you can really only cheat on things that occur on your computer. It is an app that installs on your desktop. So what it does is it reads your screen and it interprets audio. So the prime example would be you're in a Zoom call. It's a job interview.
Sure.
It's a sales call. Maybe you're interviewing someone. Like for me as a journalist, maybe I'm interviewing someone for a story. Because it can input these two things, what it sees, what it reads, what it hears, it's supposed to allow it to feed the user information. So for example, let's say I'm interviewing you and I did not bother at all to look you up or Google you before the interview. I'm just coming in cold. Supposedly, Cluely would be able to quickly research you and tell me all sorts of things about you. It would tell me you liked anime and I'd be like, oh, let's talk about this thing we have in common. Or, it would perceive the kind of things you were saying and give me suggestions to kind of butter you up, make you respond more vulnerably to my questions, whatever.
Okay. So it's like a little hacker assistant that like while you're doing the interview is kind of going rogue and looking up this person's information or assessing what's going on and kind of feeding you like, oh, tell her about this or like bring this up.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay. So it's kind of like an assistant, I guess.
Right. Or if for some reason you were like, hey, do you happen to know what the capital of Wisconsin is? Which is like a real thing that this guy uses as an example. It would just tell me and I would tell you and I would seem very smart.
Interesting.
Yes.
Right. So that's how it works. So you have your little guy in the computer.
Right.
And they're getting notes for you and they're doing things for you. Now, given that he raised $5.3 million for this, is there a subscription model? How does it work?
So it's $0 if you just want to check it out, which apparently he claims 80,000 people have downloaded as of right now.
Okay.
I'm sure that number will be larger by the time people hear this because who doesn't want to give it a whirl? Or it's $20 a month if you want the non-limited, all access, premium 24/7 customer support, better answers, whatever, all that.
Okay. So people are talking about this and we've kind of demonstrated some of its uses, right? It seems like it could be something that's useful with the talk of AI agents that everybody's been on lately. So it seems maybe that this could be a good idea. But it looks like the reviews aren't exactly good. So what did you find in the reviews of this application?
So I found two people who had attempted to use it. One was Victoria Song, who's a reporter at The Verge. And the other one was Matthew Galt, who's a reporter at 404 Media. Both of them interviewed Lee and then attempted to use this tool. And neither of them found it to be particularly useful. For Victoria, she experienced a lot of technical issues. Now, I was thinking about discreetly putting it on this computer and using it to talk to you today. But one of the issues that she found was that it created a lot of audio feedback with the mic. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work for our podcast episode.
That's not good. Yeah.
They both experienced a couple of other issues. The biggest one that they both experienced was lag time. So, if somebody said something and you were waiting on a response and the other person sits there for 30 seconds while this tool goes and consults ChatGPT, which is where the information is coming from, that kind of looks really weird. Like, imagine you're interviewing someone for a job and for some reason they sit there very awkwardly for 30 seconds and then read off something that sounds very staged. Like, it seems like you would know that's what they were doing.
Right.
Victoria also found that it didn't quite understand the context of certain things. So there was just a lot missing from having this be a usable assistant in a real-time conversation, which is the intention.
Right, which is a lot quicker in the back and forth. I've seen like a lot of clips of people using AI in interviews, and it seems like when dealing with real-time conversations, you just have to, exactly you said, like take a 30-second pause and then read a script to somebody as a response, which isn't a conversation. So it seems like he's on the right track with this, though. It's an interesting concept, but it just doesn't seem like it's ready yet for what its intended purposes are.
Yeah, it seems like if you were going to use this, it would just need to be a lot faster because it's essentially no different than if I have ChatGPT open and as I'm talking to you, I'm prompting it, which, that's another thing. You've got to prompt it sometimes. And then I'm reading responses back to you. It would not work in a real time setting. And it also doesn't work in a real life setting. And this is what I think is the most interesting thing about Cluely is that they made an ad for it.
Oh, they did.
And the ad is a use case that is not viable at all. Like, the software they have right now would not allow this. It's basically Lee himself is starring in the ad, and he's on a date with a woman. And Lee, I believe, is 21, maybe 20 at the time this ad came out. And the woman he's on a date with is supposed to be older. So he's at a really nice restaurant. And it's showing the AI as like an overlay that only he can see, implying that it's in some sort of like smart glasses or smart contact. That is not the software. It works on desktop. It does not work like this. So it's not even possible. It is like a future pipe dream. So he's on this date with this woman. And she thinks, based on his appearance, that he is lying about his age. And he is. He's pretending to be a 30-year-old successful software engineer. That is not who he is at all. And The app is just like feeding him suggestions, like kind of indicating when she's not feeling it, pulling up information about her so he can say like, hey, I saw that painting you did of those tulips and I really liked it. Of course, he gets called out by the waiter who can't run his ID. It's a fake ID, and gives him a glass of grape juice instead of a glass of wine. She realizes he's lying. She gets up to leave. He tries to lure her back in with that he pulls off of the internet about her through his smart glasses that don't really even work in the real world. And then she says, let me think about it. I'll get back to you next week. Can we have a date for next week? And then it reminds him that he's at an anime convention all week. And then she's like, F this, and leaves. So it's not even an ad that showcases a tool that exists. It doesn't work for him, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
A lot of people have compared it to an episode of Black Mirror. But at the same time, I'm watching this and I'm thinking, I don't perceive it as being ethical to lie to someone you're on a date with about your age or what you do for a living. Like if I found out someone lied to me about one of those two things, even if it wasn't necessarily a big deal to me, I would not want to continue seeing a person who would lie to me from the get-go. So it's not a particularly warm ad. And then also, it's really not showing me a use case.
Yeah.
Because I've been in a relationship with someone for almost 2 years now. And it's the first time I've dated someone seriously that I've met online, because that's where we're at as a society. I work remotely. When am I going to meet people? The first thing I did after we matched and talked for a little bit, and it seemed like we were going to go out on a date, was I Googled them.
Yeah, of course.
And I looked at their Instagram, I looked at their Twitter, and I looked at their IMDb. And I was like, okay, you do this thing for a living you say you do. You're not posting weird, offensive shit. And we have stuff in common. Great. How long did that take me? I don't know, 20 minutes? And then I went on the date.
Yeah.
And I was able to reference those things and remember those things and retain them in my brain. And I'm just saying, like, I feel like if I had had like a machine that was verifying these things, even if it was in real time, the date would have been so awkward because I would have been like, so I think you like this movie?
Yeah, right. I saw you made a Facebook post in 2020
right,
that you really liked this movie. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest problem here is that the ad clearly shows capabilities that aren't even available of this thing. Like if you wanted to take this thing on a date with you would have to bring a laptop.
Right.
That's completely wrong as like a way to advertise it. This is new. Maybe it's time to workshop it, but still, I do enjoy how complicated that commercial is. That really brightened up my day.
It's so funny that they're like, we're going to cheat on everything because that's what he got in trouble for. But like none of these use cases make sense to me. They're all clunky. And it would be a lot easier if I just did this myself. Like if you were like, this is going to summarize documents, take notes, do math for you. Great. But this, I'm just like, yeah, this is too many steps.
Yeah, a little too clunky right now. But maybe we'll see what happens with the next version.
Yeah. I mean, so far, we have not really seen a model that promises to do everything for you, that does everything for you. We saw Humane's AI pin flop,
Yep.
Rabbit R1 flopped. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, more on that later. All right, and that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of HubSpot Media. Our editor is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. Got a ton more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go sign up at thehustle.co/email and follow us on Instagram at The Hustle Daily. We'll catch you tomorrow.